It's unclear just how hard Ferren tried to reestablish himself in New York. Unlike many of his American contemporaries, he deliberately did not attempt to join the WPA. Furthermore, he sought to reconnect with surprisingly few American artists, intentionally distancing himself from the American abstract artist group. It wasn't until 1940 that he learned the group had been using his name as a member, with Morris paying his dues. Ferren was incensed and wrote Morris a scathing letter demanding his name be removed from the roster. He wasn't doing himself any favors, as you can see. Even as late as 1942, we can see him surrounded by the European artists in exile in this photograph. Ferren is in the back row at the center, and other artists included in this photograph are Max Ernst, William Stanley Hayter, Frederick Kiesler, Marcel Duchamp, Pierre Mondrian, André Breton, Edmé Azenfant, Ferdinand Léger, and others. John Ferren's rapid assimilation of the visual language in the early 1930s in Paris was simply part of his equally accelerated cultural assimilation. Europe provided him a tabula rasa, and he took full advantage of it. Once he returned to the US, however, he found himself lost, both culturally and artistically. Helpful in his eventual reacclimation to his home country was his service as a civilian working for the Office of Wartime Information during World War II. He served in North Africa, Italy, and after the liberation of Paris, was sent to find Picasso to make sure he was safe. Ferren continued in artistic drift well after the war, until the early 1950s, when he became a central member of Abstract Expressionism and the Club. He also became an important art educator in New York, holding positions at the Brooklyn Museum School, Cooper Union, and as head of the art department at Queens College, a position that he held for about 20 years. The story doesn't exactly end there, however. Ferren was chosen by the State Department in 1963 to spend a year in Beirut, Lebanon, as the artist in residence. He taught local artists abstract painting and lectured throughout the Middle East on modern and abstract art. It was then that Ferren learned that his former color supplier in Paris during the 1930s had saved the entire cache of work that he had left behind. His last visit to Paris was on his way home from Lebanon, where he saw this work for the first time in nearly 30 years. We can only imagine how he must have felt and the memories that these early paintings elicited. He wrote almost nothing about their rediscovery. He did, however, dash off a brief note to his acquaintance, Clement Greenberg, who had recently included 3 of Ferren's works in his post-painterly abstraction exhibition. Ferren noted that seeing the early works again, quote, has of course been of interest to me, and I have concluded that they are of more than passing interest in general. If you have the time and inclination, I would enjoy showing them to you in my downtown studio. It's not clear if Greenberg ever visited to see the work. John Ferren was eventually able to overcome his transnationalism, this specific identity that he had worked hard to create, and become a productive and contributing abstract expressionist painter. But it took him nearly 15 years to do so. Scholars often explore the beneficial aspects of hybridity and transnationalism. The fact remains, though, that with Ferren, while his transnationalism served him well for the early years of his career in allowing Europeans to perceive him as American, and Americans to perceive him as European, it nevertheless created an identity crisis for him that lasted well into the 1950s. Thank you.